All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about some comments made by Charvarius Ward of the 49ers talking about the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs and how that is going to fuel them for the 2024 season, and making the 49ers a little hungrier, as the headline in the article I have here says. So this is what he said. This was on K. Adams' show. The Up and Adams show. He said, "It will make you a little hungrier. Obviously, you've got to change something because you didn't win the Super Bowl. You can't go in there and be the exact same team and do the exact same stuff and expect to win the Super Bowl the next year. So I think the losses, they make you stronger. They make you go harder. They challenge you to be better at something. Maybe we don't know what we got to be better at yet, but obviously got to go in there and work and figure it out to dethrone the champions." And actually, I didn't know this, but he did play through a core muscle injury during last year's Super Bowl run, and added that while he's still rehabbing, he expects to be on the field for training camp in July. So yeah, I did not know he was playing through injury, but yeah. So some comments made by him there, and yeah, I talked about this many times, after the Super Bowl, but yeah, it's like, what else could the 49ers do? Like, what else do they need to make them a better team? I mean, I know there's some people out there that would say, well, they could, maybe get a better quarterback, because there are some people that don't believe in Brock Purdy. Now, my stance on Brock Purdy is this. I think he's a good quarterback, but I would not put him in that upper echelon of quarterbacks. I think he's good. I think he does benefit from the talent around him. But that was kind of the difference in the Super Bowl, is you had now, and I thought Brock Purdy did play well in that Super Bowl. I know I think some people said he could have played better, which yeah, could have. But I thought he definitely was not the reason the 49ers lost. But one of the differences in that Super Bowl is the Chiefs have a generational talent at quarterback, and the 49ers don't. And that was a big difference in the game. And the 49ers had that game. They had it. I think if Ray McCloud does not fumble that ball, and the Chiefs scored immediately after that. Like, the next play was a touchdown to Valdez-Scantling. I think the 49ers win that Super Bowl. But it's just, that's not what happened. And, people point to Kyle Shanahan and how he managed overtime. And I just don't, I don't understand that side of the argument, is that they should have gave the Chiefs the ball. Or why did they go for 3 when the 49ers got it to start overtime? Because if the Chiefs get the ball to start overtime, and they go down the field and they score a touchdown, you got to match that. Why? Like, it's harder to get a touchdown than it is to get a field goal. But I understand, like, the 49ers get the ball, they go down the field, they kick a field goal, and the Chiefs said that, if the 49ers got the touchdown, that they were going to go down, score a touchdown, and then go for 2 and win the game. So, I mean, either way, that's why I don't understand why you got to blame Shanahan. I don't think. Again, you're going against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, when we got to towards the end of the fourth quarter and overtime, I mean, both defenses were exhausted. But that's just how the game played out. But yeah, I just don't know, like, how much better can the 49ers get? And they lost some pieces. I mean, you lost Eric Armstead on the defensive line. You're not going to have Dre Greenlaw to start the season. And who knows what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk? Because he's not at OTAs. He's not happy. He's looking for that new contract. So you might be getting worse if you lose Ayuk. And that's a big weapon for Brock Purdy. Now, they did draft a receiver. And we'll see how he fits into all of it, Ricky Pearsall. But yeah, you still got Christian McCaffrey, who's arguably the best running back in the NFL. You still got Deebo Samuel. You still got George Kittle. But yeah, I mean, losing Brandon Ayuk, that if they end up having to let him go, or if he holds out the whole season, or whatever ends up happening, if you don't have Brandon Ayuk for whether it's 4 games, 8 games, or the entire season, yeah, that's gonna hurt. And if they end up trading him, well, yeah, people got to step up. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know what else the 49ers can do. I mean, I guess if you look at what happened in the Super Bowl, now they fed Christian McCaffrey, which, I mean, how could you not? But you had Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. I think they combined for like 7 receptions. I think Kittle and Deebo had like 2 receptions. Well, Deebo also, I remember he got hurt in the game, so he was kind of in and out. Ayuk, I think, had 3 catches. You got to get those guys more involved. I mean, I understand that you're feeding Christian McCaffrey, but those are also your key playmakers that got you to this point. They got to be more involved in the offense. How does George Kittle only have 2 catches? How does Deebo Samuel? Well, again, Deebo Samuel was injured, but how does Brandon Ayuk only have 3 catches? Juwan Jennings was involved in 2 touchdowns in that game. He threw 1, and he caught 1. So credit to him for having a good game. But still, like, what about your main guys? He's kind of your 4th option. Actually, no, he's like your 5th option. Because, if you're throwing passes to McCaffrey out of the backfield, too. So that's one thing I could look at and say that maybe you could do that a little bit differently. Get those guys involved as well. But maybe they didn't want to do that. They wanted to run it down the Chiefs' throat because that was one thing that the Chiefs' defense was a little suspect against, was the run going into the game. So they figured, we're going to give it to our guy. I guess that's one thing to look at. But, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what else. And even Ward said it. He's like, we may not know what that is yet. I don't really know. And the other thing, too, is, and I've said this about other teams in the NFC, the conference is going to be better. I mean, you still got the Lions you're going to have to deal with, and they play them late in the season. You got the Packers who are going to be better. You got the Eagles that are going to try to bounce back. Like, the conference is going to be better. And they almost lost to the Packers and the Lions. And they were able to come back. But that might not happen this time around. So, we'll see. I still view the 49ers as the best team in the NFC, in my opinion. And until someone knocks them off, and it's the same thing with the Chiefs. Until someone knocks them off, that's the best team right now. But it's a new year, and things can happen, but I still got the 49ers at 1 in the NFC. But yeah, I mean, for them, there's not that much you can do differently. So, and who knows if they even get back to that point, because it's hard. I mean, they got there in 2019, and 2019-2020, the 2019-2020 season, and then they had all those injuries in 2020. You made it in 2021, 2022. You lost to the Rams, and you lost to the Eagles. Those games played out very differently because against the Eagles, your quarterback got hurt. And then your other quarterback gets hurt in Josh Johnson, and then you have no quarterback. And, then they finally broke through and made it to the Super Bowl again against that same team, and they lost in overtime. And that game almost went to double overtime, which I kind of wish it did. So, I don't know. There's not really much that you could do, but like I always say, we'll see what happens with how their season plays out this year. But yeah, it's going to be tougher. It's going to be tougher. So we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we will talk about Justin Fields, some comments he made on competing for the starting job with the Steelers between him and Russell Wilson. So that's what we will do to finish off the show. So with that being said, stick around one more time today, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.